Behind the Shades.
Worst breakup actually wasn't even the worst relationship, just the breakup was so odd. Was she took back everything she gave me. I'm talking pots, I'm talking about pans, I'm talking, and she came over to the condo I was renting out at the time. And every time she took back one item, she'd look at me, take back another item, and look at me. And I'm observing this. I'm just like, just went back to watching TV because it was so awkward.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
I do like because I won at a company Christmas dinner that she came to. I won a TV. And I gave her the TV. I didn't ask for the TV back because I'm not that type of person. Like when you gift something to someone, at that point in time, you wanted them to have it because at that point in time, they meant what they meant to you. So for her to come back and take back everything that she wanted, let me think that how many other men have had these pots and pans?
Come on! Oh, shit! That is not a good feeling. Oh, that is not a good feeling.
Yeah, it isn't, but it's possible.
Truth.
It is possible.
Fair thought. Yeah.
Because I don't think it was pots and pans that she used herself. Maybe she did, but she made it a point. She said, well, if we're not going to be together, I want this back. And she named it specifically.
Interesting.
So I'd love to, being the person I am now, I'd love to have that conversation with her. But no, I think she's like a monster of a woman. But she was interesting. I learned a lot from her. I learned that sometimes our insecurities can make other people uncomfortable. And by that, I mean, she was older than me, but at that point in time, I was more successful career-wise. Professionally, I was more successful than her. And there was always an issue. And she would bring it up and she would mention it. And there are times where I would help her along. I would try to tell her what worked for me. And she went back to school and I would help her with her schooling and everything. But the fact that I had to help her bothered her. I'm like, we're in a relationship. Who cares? You help me, I help you.
Lift you up, lift me up. Let's do it. Yeah.
That's the way it works. But no, she's like, well, you're younger than I am. I'm like, but you knew that when we got together. It's not like it's not like I'm Benjamin Button and I'm getting younger with age, right? It's like
aging. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's an issue 6 months into the relationship, but it wasn't it, but
yeah.
No, I wish her the best. And well, that's all. I don't wish her the best. No, I'm joking. No, I wish her the best. I wish her the best. Like everything's a learning experience.
It's all learning.
Everything.
Yeah. It all contributes in some way, somehow to us. If we learn the lessons, right? Like if we use it as an opportunity, it doesn't have to be right in the moment of a breakup. In the moment of the breakup, you're like, I'm never loving anyone ever again. And you're like, all of that. And I hate everybody. And it's painful. Yeah, it's painful. And you just start to second guess everything, like about yourself and about the connection and about future connection and all of that. And then we get some space, we get some perspective, and we can see like how that, could contribute to us being.
Oh yeah, there's this person I used to work with. Her marriage ended because she wanted to be she wanted to join polygamy.
Polyamorous.
She wanted to be polyamorous, and it was her idea. Despite the fact that a lot of people probably think, it's probably the man who wants to have like a harem of women. I was like, no, it was her idea. But it got to the point where she actually brought on the third person on. So when they got together, this was years back, she would tell me the story. So he ended up being with that woman. So the relationship at that time ended. So I asked her, I was like, okay, how are you going to grieve? How are you going to deal with it? Like, what did you do? She grieved. She handled it. So I asked her, so are you going to continue on in that community? She's like, yeah. But now the flip is she doesn't want to be in a relationship. So now she's going to be that third wheel. Let me tell you, Rachel, she is going to let loose. She's already said that, right? And I was like, man, that's one way to cope. And I think a lot of people probably in my observation, and you can say your observation, that probably impacts women a lot more than men.
What does a breakup?
Searching for that connection
Okay.
with another person. Sorry, I shouldn't say that. It appears that way, but I think it's probably just as balanced where when you have a breakup and it's so shocking, like that one,
Mhm. Mhm.
it's always easier just to find comfort in someone,
Hmm.
maybe a not so close friend or an acquaintance or wherever. But in her case, it just seems like she's gonna go
I
that
see.
route
I see
and
what you're
do her thing.
saying. Well, for me, it's layered because what I know, like oftentimes, do you know how long she was married? Like, was it a significant
No,
amount
she
of
was she
time?
was in a relationship for they no, they didn't end
Well,
up
they weren't
getting
married,
married,
but they were together for a long
but they were
time.
together for a long time. So
Yeah.
it must have been, I want to say probably almost 10 years, but not necessarily 10 years.
Right.
So it was a number of years.
I see. So, first of all, that's one of the magic numbers of when people break up. I have my own theory about that. The year
In
of
10 years,
three.
exactly. 10
Yeah,
years.
it's a big one. But so we go through periods of reevaluation every so often in relationships, and we're reassessing, right? Like, do I still feel good about this connection? Is it still, a relationship that is fulfilling, that's serving my needs? Are we evolving together towards, still the same wants and needs? And so those periods of reevaluation are really important, but oftentimes when people go through that, if they don't understand that framework, that that's what happens, they just start to see it as it's a problem. Because a lot of people are raised with this idea of like, we fall in love and we're in love forever, which is just not how it works, right? You fall in love and then you might fall a little bit out of love and then back in love. Or you might have a gripe or a grievance or some resentments that need to be dealt with, and then you fall back in love and then you reassess. So what is often true though is that I think sometimes people leave a relationship a long time before they leave a relationship. And so for example, like there are many different things that she could be doing. One, she might have been grieving for years already and planning and thinking about leaving this relationship. And this is just the finality. This is just checking the box, you know? And so her kind of now being ready to just step out there and explore her sexuality and have some adventures, take some lovers, is not an avoidance necessarily. It can be though. I totally hear you. I think it just matters when the person actually left the relationship. One of my, it's a common saying, right? The best way to get over someone is to get under someone. And I think there is a truth, right? When we come out of a relationship, are like, how am I still desirable? You tell me as a man if you process, because I haven't talked to men about this actually. I know
Mm.
myself and all of my girlfriends definitely go through that feeling of like, oh my gosh, nobody's ever going to want me. I'm a little bit older. I'm a little bit, not as toned or whatever, or things, bodies parts are changing, or, oh, maybe I have children now or whatever. And so that feeling of wanting to be reinvigorated, wanting to be reminded of what it feels like to be desired, because that's almost always kaput by the end if a relationship totally ends, right? So I don't know, have you experienced that in your own kind of work around leaving relationships? Do you have that same kind of fear and need to be reminded of your
I think
passages in
for
life and
many
desirability?
men, there's the need of familiarity, of routine, because you have someone that is you spend so much time with, and if you're living with them or if they spent a couple of nights over at your place, you have someone to come home to. I think with successful men, a lot of the source or the incentive of their success is a woman. So the way I look at it is, if you look at many of the inventions from men throughout the world, it's to better the life of women, right? From the birth control pill to the dishwasher to whatever you want to call it, right? But for me, what I find is that during the time of a breakup, I take time to understand why it happened. And during that understanding phase, you may experience loneliness,